Gethe once famously quoted, "Architecture is like frozen music." I'm architect Karan Anand, introducing you to Season 3, Episode 8 of Moñö Architecture, All Things Design, brought to you by brand partners Kitchen Studio, Highbeck, Turquoise and Embellish. Today we have with us one such personality who has lived up to this very quote, Jugal Mistri of JMA Mumbai. Thank you for being here, Jugal. It's an absolute honor. Could you tell us a little bit about what JMA is all about?
Yeah. Hi, Karan. We are a young studio operating out of Worli. So as an office, we do largely cultural and context-driven projects that are spread across various parts of the country. These include projects that are around the coastline of Maharashtra as well as Goa, where we do a lot of vacation homes, a lot of villas. And coming back to Bombay, it's again a kind of a mixed bag where we're doing commercial projects, developer projects. These are buildings either in Bandra or in South Bombay. And, I started this practice almost a decade ago, and the kind of one single idea was to sort of, bring all my whether, Indian or international sensibilities into my practice and try and kind of address that gap, of offering solutions or ideas that were kind of out of the box thinking or, freshness of ideas within projects. And again, as an office, we do very limited work a year. We do like maybe under a dozen projects. So it's not an office that boasts about doing 30, 40 projects. But again, we make sure that these, dozen projects they turn out to be special or they turn out to be publish worthy at least.
Thank you for being here, Jugal. So before we start talking about your practice and your work and all of that, let's talk about your early days, right? Your beginnings of how you became an architect, where you studied, and a little bit of those influences, especially for our younger audiences.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I mean, I kind of grew up surrounded by a lot of artisans, workshops, looking at craft kind of taking shape. In a city called Gandhinagar, which is like the capital city of Gujarat. It happens to be a planned city. And so, there were these very early influences of how, planned cities can shape your minds, shape overall, young cultures. And also being amongst kind of creative minds within the family, it was kind of a very natural progression for me to look at or consider architecture. Yeah.
And you studied in Columbia as well, right?
Right.
So could you tell us a little bit about that and how different it is from, say, education in India? Because you transitioned from here to there and then back here, right?
Yeah. So I guess, Columbia was, again, that sort of, real hunger to, go out there, explore, not just focus on architecture alone, but to overall understand how cities operate. And so when I was working after my undergrad, I had a very good boss who had just come back from Harvard, and he had this whole kind of experience doing urban planning, urban design, and so he was like, looks like you're a good architect. What you need is that kind of broader overview on how life works or how stuff works, with cities. So you need to kind of consider, your next move. Where do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And so when I was applying for grad schools, my friend and I used to talk a lot. And the one kind of universal message I always got from my advisors was to kind of also look at the overall package, not just the school that you're going to. So what city are you going to be matters a lot. And so I'd applied to a bunch of schools and, luckily kind of got into Columbia, which is in New York City. And so, one is not only leveraging the kind of university resources, but you're also kind of, you have that direct access to the city as a whole. And so that I think was a very kind of critical point in my life because, I've always been a hostel child. I lived on my own, and then, I moved to the US. So, I mean, I knew how to stay alone and, kind of survive, sustain, etc. But I think that kind of, global kind of outreach really helped, inform a lot of my design ideas. And if I just have to kind of talk about Columbia per se, it's a great university. Again, I wanted to go to SciArc, which was in LA back then. I'm talking almost 18 years ago. SciArc was one of the most talked about, like, out there schools. And but again, the thing with SciArc was that it's in LA, and one has to drive. And back in the day, I used to watch a lot of these Woody Allen movies, and he has this like amazing quote. So he's a hardcore New York guy, and who hates LA, would never go and live in LA. And he has this quote that says, "I do not want to be in a city where the only cultural advantage is your right of way at a signal." So like, if you're driving in California in general, like, you can just take a right turn, even though it's red. And so, that kind of really described the entire city to me in one quote. Like, it was so powerful that, you can't walk there. It's a sprawl. So I guess, picking Columbia was kind of a very smart choice because one could, walk, move around, take the subway. So it was more kind of engaging with the public life in addition to just being on campus.
And studying in Columbia and being there, what kind of architectural influences came upon you? Like, how did you kind of learn, and how do you practice that in your current?
I mean, I'm not sure if it has like a direct impact on your practice because the way they work is very different. The clients there are very different. The scale of projects is very different than what we do here. But my direct mentors or professors who taught me were obviously Mark Wigley was our dean. Like, he's a very mystical figure. Like, just being at his electives was like an amazing experience. He can talk about history, he can talk about the future. Bernard Tschumi was actively engaged in the school. We had Stephen Hall, Kenneth Frampton. So, my only takeaway, in a way...
you sat across the table with Tschumi?
Yes. And, my only takeaway was, I had this kind of whole series of books that I wanted to kind of get signed by from all of these people. And, I did that. And I think that was really good. And overall, it's again a very active setup. They are constantly like engaging with, architects from outside the US. They used to always invite a lot of thought leaders. And so it was good to kind of know what's happening, around the world, even in places like Africa, or, they used to call like amazing architects from down south, like from Mexico. So it was overall a very good exposure.
Okay, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you, because of these influences, right, I want to ask you a question. Stay with me. It's going to be a long, confused question.
Sure.
But, with these influences, you have modernism, you have postmodernism. There are certain designers who have strict philosophies, that I'm a modernist or I'm a postmodernist. And then you have Moore, who came in and said that, it's like kind of modernism is dead and postmodernism is what it is. So what is your take on that, and what are your philosophies on these ideologies?
Yeah. So I guess maybe like the death of modernism is right and wrong at the same time, because if you think about it, for a long period, modernism kind of became really stagnated. It became really boring, utilitarian. It became very kind of pragmatic. It was essentially just fulfilling a set of agendas on any particular building. And then came this entire wave of guys like Libeskind, Peter Cook, Zaha Hadid, who were actually known as the postmoderns. But the way I personally look at it is, these people actually kind of reignited or hit the refresh button on modernism itself. because they were really doing projects that were out there. Gary did some fantastic buildings, like the Guggenheim Bilbao,
Yes.
which really kind of pushed the limits of architecture, which we never witnessed in modernism.
Yeah.
We saw amazing proportions with modernism. We saw Corbusier doing like beautiful stuff out of concrete, but then these guys were really doing complex programs. They were really addressing a lot of future issues. They were really interacting with the city, right? So how can buildings start having an influence on a city's economy at large, right? So this is what buildings started doing in that whole era. Like museums, right? The brief itself is so interesting, right? It's like a dream for any architect to do museums, and that's when all of these guys, like Stephen Hall's first project was the Helsinki Museum, which was actually a competition, right? So they really waited it out. Like Libeskind's first project was when he turned 50, the Jewish Museum.
Yes.
And so these were really like, the gestation period was really high, but I think finally, we saw something amazing come out of it.
Yeah, and when you talk about gestation period and you talk about patience and Libeskind waiting till he was 50, competitions and all of this, and then we are in an era now where social media and Instagram and the glitz and glam of architecture is kind of taken over. So do you feel like this is the way forward now, or do we have to take a step back and kind of understand the differences and the nuances of, say, being patient and being an architect, or should we just deep dive into, say, all of these things?
I think it's very personal. I mean, whatever works for, to each one's own. But I kind of strongly feel that anything creative or artists in general, I think, should have some sense of mystery about themselves. I really genuinely believe in that. And, I think it kind of, in a way, maintains that value of a designer. If you're not putting out too much, I think there is a way to communicate. There's a way to kind of, have a profound impact on your audience, right? Like, Trent Reznor, who's like a very amazing musician, who kind of later on in his life joined Apple when Apple Music started. And, he had this whole, interview where he's talking about, do you want to be like DJ Khaled, or you want to be like, Radiohead, for example. I love Radiohead. So, they're like two extremes, right? So there is an audience that loves DJ Khaled. I can't relate to him. He also goes and lectures at Harvard, by the way.
Yes.
So it really depends on what works for you. But I feel that there is definitely an oversupply of information right now, and there is also a very kind of high level of influence. I think young minds are being kind of informed with a lot of stuff that's on social media, right? And I'm not sure if that should be your first stepping stone into the world of design. I think young people need to pick up the book. They need to spend the hours to kind of understand, dissect, learn things, and not just it's not a hack. Firstly, you can't hack your way into things. I feel so. I guess it's a matter of process. What you really believe. Yeah, what you really believe, and yeah. But we are I think definitely in this kind of little risky territory at the moment, as far as the messaging is concerned, for design. And again, I'm seeing that a lot of the kind of longer gestation period projects, or when you're doing something on a large scale, or if you're doing something that has that's architectural, I guess you have very little to say, because the process itself consumes you, right? And again, it's a very humbling process to make a building. I think now, after a decade into our practice, we've started building in Bombay, and we're doing a building in Bandra, and so now there is that kind of learning of what it takes to kind of get there and to build something meaningful. So I'm not sure if we can sort of resonate with the glamour as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, when you spoke about your building in Bandra, before I talk about it, I want to come back to your answer on modernism and postmodernism. So you've come from Gandhinagar, which is a planned city. It's got major postmodernist influences.
Yeah.
There's Chandigarh, right? And now you are in Bombay, which is a modernist city, more or less, right? And do you feel like our buildings, before we talk about your building, like in general, the skyscrapers and the towers and all of that are coming up, do you feel like we really need to derive from the urban context or the rural context and just kind of shift direction towards a more postmodernist kind of a look and feel? Because when you look at, say, Paris, or when you look at Copenhagen or any of these cities, right, or even New York for that matter, they have a postmodernist touch to it and it has evolved into that. Whereas I feel Bombay hasn't grasped that yet. It's very haphazard. So I would like you to give us some insight on that and also talk about your structure that you're building.
Yeah, so I think there's a reason behind this chaos, which is that as a country and also as a city, I think we are always firefighting, right? Our population keeps exploding, and there is very little land to kind of experiment or to kind of even preserve. Let's say we want to preserve something heritage. We want to preserve building heights. We want to have human scale, right? We simply can't afford to do that. Our only very straightforward answer is to go high and to kind of go dense. Now, what is really important is to understand how to tackle density, how to address verticality.
And the linearity of the city as well.
Exactly. And then, what is the ground condition? How is that supporting such tall towers and that entire kind of, workflow? So that is more critical, I think. Architects end up doing a good job. I mean, so far, the stuff that's happening in Bombay is quite commendable, I feel. Because we have far too many complex challenges with approvals and with the landmass and the setbacks, and so it's a whole host of things. Before one can even get romantic, which one wants to. We are, like I said, we are just kind of fighting with fulfilling the basics, which is housing for everybody and at least giving something that's decent sized. So I think on an urban level, that's where we need to focus.
Lovely.
Yeah, and if I had to just I don't know if I can draw parallels with the city I grew up in, but I guess I can just say that the way it's tuned my mind, or the way there are still memories of growing up, where having like 3 parks in immediate proximity to your house was just something we took for granted, right? And we are like completely park people, me and my family, my daughter, my wife. We love going to the outdoors. So there was a lot of opportunity for either if you're a child or if you're a young adult or someone even in their retirement to kind of really live a very fulfilling life in these kind of settings. It almost kind of felt like utopia, in a way that it's like it can't be so perfect, right? I mean, obviously every place has its flaws, but there was a lot of thought that went into creating that place. And even I think just the way they had also structured the housing, because this city, since it's the capital of Gujarat, it also has the largest kind of parliament building, right? So, a lot of workforce that works for the government. And so they had this whole kind of, array of typologies of housing, which was again, which could kind of become architectural studies in itself. Like some were like terraced houses, some were like garden houses and, row houses and large estates. And it was like a whole host of things that one could kind of really notice, observe and learn from.
And all integrated into each other, right? Into the plan of the city, which is rare and commendable.
For government to do that.
Exactly.
I mean, to be so generous, with your workforce, to not only provide free housing, but provide housing that is healthy, that is, that can kind of really activate your senses to be more creative and to kind of really, just kind of enjoy nature. So that was really surprising. And even like now, if I go back, I'm really shocked just looking at
how it's growing, expanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's really palatial, like to compare it with any city.
It is.
The proportions and the scale and the streets, and it's just like crazy. Yeah.
Now, before this interview began, you were talking about a building that you're doing, right? And I don't know if you did it knowingly or unknowingly, but you romanticized it really, really beautifully. And I would like for you to talk about that structure and what it's all about, and how you source the material, and how you as a studio curate your spaces, not just through, say, a plan or a 3D, but through understanding what a structure needs, right?
So this project happens to be on Turner Road in Bandra, and we all love Bandra, and it's kind of a dream to build in Bandra. And so ever since I've come back from the US, and the only question I get asked is, have you built in Bandra? And
really?
so now there is some kind of positive answer. And so when this client happened and the brief happened, we were obviously kind of trying to understand how it can fit into the whole Bandra story within the Bandra culture, and what does the client want specifically, right? Because ultimately they are going to inhabit there. It's an office building with premium retail on the ground floor because it's on main Turner Road, so it's got kind of this whole permeable sense to it. I mean, to the entry, and so couple of things they were quite clear about, which helped us shape the structure and shape the facade, and also look at the material application, which was that they wanted something that really respected Bombay in its true glory, right? I mean, so it's very rare to hear this, from a client, that we want to really celebrate Bombay in its heydays, and so what is the heyday of Bombay,
exactly.
right? That's what you're going to ask yourself as an architect. And so one goes back to places like Kalagoda and Tata House, and obviously they had this little vision about it being something authentic and genuine, nothing cosmetic. And so we kind of studied the solid stone facades for the longest time, on how, like, New York has brownstones, right? So the entire homes and entire buildings are built out of a single monolithic brownstone. And so how do you do that at a mid-rise tower level, right? So that was the whole kind of starting point. And then we love arches. So this is again a project where we are doing arches on a high-rise.
Nice.
And then again, going back to the complexities of the curses of building here, is that the architecture, essentially we call this the architecture of 300 mm. So that's the kind of facade play you get after optimizing the flow plate on any given building in Bombay. And so we just wanted to kind of figure out what is the best way to explore this 300 mm, right? So how do we do that? And so as a result, it's a solid stone clad facade with deep recessed arches, which are again like chamfered, and we've got like these doubly curves and stuff like that happening. So yeah, I mean, in the end, it feels like it's kind of a nice contribution to that small skyline.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, and again, the client was also very clear that they don't want like just a glass facade with glazing, something that's very clinical.
Yeah.
So it's got nice textures. It's got a very nice warmth to it, which we really like.
Was there a certain school of thought that inspired you into creating this design?
I think it was purely just looking at that typology of, let's say, how do I put it? Maybe like, regal architecture. I think, just celebrating regal arches.
Yeah.
That was really the first sketch.
Yeah.
And then we were just like modeling multiple iterations of that 300 mm, right? And then just looking at the proportion of the arch. So, this is the width of the building, like how many arches are looking better, so we had this, exactly, so we had that whole kind of again exercise and that whole presentation with the client to understand what they like, what we like, and what's again then what is optimized window size with the window manufacturer, so that we are not like exceeding, we are not asking for extra running feet length of the mullions. So all that also kind of informs the final outcome.
And also the stone. You spoke about it being clad in stone, right? Where did you get the stone from, and what stone have you used?
So we are still sourcing it.
I sound like a school.
Yeah. So again, so we are looking at. I mean, finding something locally would be the first choice. But if not, then I mean, we'll be. We are open to sourcing it from. I mean, internationally. And again, this is because it's a dry cladding. The stone has to be a certain thickness. So it's minimum 40 to 50 mm. So it's a solid
it's a full
piece of slab. Because they clamp it, and then it has to stay up forever. And then we also have to look at the panel size. How much can be lifted up? Right. So we are factoring all that, but it's a beige stone.
Okay, lovely. You talk about how your studio is now streamlined and how you manage these problems in a certain way, and they're not too much of a task today for you, right? But for say a young designer who's just say graduated or who wants to become an architect, who does not come from a legacy of say 100 other architects and a family of how easy or difficult is it for them, and what would your advice to them be into getting into practice?
So firstly, this is not easy for anyone. I mean, you can come from wherever, and it's like any architect is going to go through that grind, and it's going to go through that period of even having no work, right? So I think it's I think tenacity matters in our industry. Like, you have to be tenacious to kind of keep pushing and to keep building. And I think that's where you learn, and that's where I think you get better. I think there is no other secret sauce. I mean, and for us, what happened is that very early on, like when I started my office, we used to do a lot of interior projects, and then there came a time that I was just like kind of completely fed up with it, because it was not stimulating. It was not something we could talk about. It was literally just fulfilling the fundamentals of an office, which is like we had to pay everyone and stuff like that. And then what happened is that we kind of consciously decided to just move out from the city and find projects in the most remote part of the country, where there were those 2 or 3 select clients, those who were appreciative of our design, who had that little open mind, who had the land, who had some budget. And even if it meant traveling to places that had no airports, if I had to take like 2 trains, we were ready to do that, because we knew that ultimately it's going to be like this whole project in the portfolio. It's going to be this whole 2 years journey of again building and learning from it, right? So we've done villa projects in like really remote places of the country, in up north in UP, and where I've been working for more than 8 years now. Delhi also we do a lot of work. So by putting ourselves in that kind of far off remote projects, what automatically happened to us is that we were expected to make very sharp drawings, very detailed drawings, because the contractor's he doesn't have the luxury to come meet me. Right? Everything is on email and everything is on the phone. And so if at that point we were not able to have that clarity with our design or with our drawings or with our message, then it would be like a complete disaster. And so I think that really just put us in that like real sort of caution mode all the time, that we've got to make sure this is working, this is like checked twice or thrice, and that there are no errors, and what we are proposing is working. And so that happened for a few years, and then now it's just kind of become the way we work. So
So we're going to play a game now. This is very different from what we usually do. Someone from my team is going to ask us a riddle, architecturally related. Okay, and then we have to first you and then me, because for some reason I'm a part of this as well.
Sure, you need to be.
Yeah, they're throwing me under the bus, but let's do it. And if you get it right, you get a point. If you don't get it right, I get a point. And then at the end of the game, there's a hamper. I'm assuming if I win, I get a hamper, right, guys? Do I get it? No, what the hell, man? Okay, so, and if you get it wrong, they've given us these list of tongue twisters. So we have to like say it 3 times fast.
Okay. Let's do this.
The more you remove from me, the stronger I become. What am I in construction?
The more you remove from me. Can I get an option?
Arch, slab, wall, door.
No, it doesn't tie back to that question, does it?
It does. What's the answer?
Arch.
What does that mean?
I thought of arch. Basically,
arch, so you have to keep building, no? I mean,
no, basically like, you know, like the aqueducts and all, like how you have the arches.
Oh, you mean the supports?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I thought something from a mix, from a concrete mix or something. What do you remove and become stronger? Anyways, my bad, yeah.
He has gone full into detail.
Yeah.
He's like cement ratio kam karna padega. He was expecting that option. Okay, you have to do your
Oh my god. Okay, so
3 times. Okay.
So I need my glasses for this. 3 times.
I like how he went from postmodernism and Corbusier to him giving a tongue twister 3 times.
Exactly.
I like it.
This is proper mono treatment to Jugal Mistri. Perfect pillars prevent poor planning problems. Perfect pillars prevent poor planning problems.
It's too slow.
Perfect pillars prevent poor planning problems.
He's going too slow. Chalo. Yeah, chalo. We let
fast
it.
तो कैसे
This
होगा
first
यार?
one we let it go. Chalo, ठीक है. Well done, well done.
Okay.
My edges touch the sky, but my roots are buried deep. What structure am I?
A building, a skyscraper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tall tower, yeah.
Tall tower.
Good, very good.
I'm a home but not a house. I'm a shelter but open to the air. Architects design me for dreams, not just needs. What am I?
These are impossible questions.
Yeah, I got a nice one. I'm very happy.
Yeah,
I got a
man.
very easy one.
So is it pavilion? Yeah.
Nice. Well done. Okay, so I'm leading.
Sure. Yeah.
Turquoise, where's turquoise? Where are the turquoise reps?
No,
Who's
no.
giving the hamper?
अरे guest को मिलता है यार.
Okay.
The heavier you make me, the more carefully you must balance me. What am I?
I know.
I think this is a overhang. Like a protrusion, na? Like. Give me options.
Arch, beam, cantilever, rooftops.
Cantilever.
Yeah.
So that's a protrusion.
Such easy questions to you. man.
I said a protrusion.
बहुत easy question.
I love you guys. Thank you for this. Thank you. Give him tougher ones. For the first time
So what was the first 2 questions?
for the first time in 18 episodes, I'm gonna win a hamper. So selfish.
Okay, let's go.
I wear a crown, but I'm not a king. I'm placed atop, protecting everything. What am I?
Please give me options.
It's a tough one, man.
Roof, tower, spire, balcony.
Spire. अरे पर उसके ऊपर तो spire होता है ना, crown.
Actually, spire is correct. Spire is correct.
I touch the sky, but fear the wind. I'm light, but need a heavy base. What am I?
Can I have options?
Spire, balcony, dome, canopy.
Spire. What?
Same answer.
Same answer.
Yeah.
चलो ठीक है.
Sure, good.
Without me, architects dream but cannot build. I'm the first step of creation. What am I?
It's easy.
Is it a software? Pencil?
Something you make with a pencil, I'm guessing.
A sketch?
Yeah, that's fine. Like a master plan, na? I think it'll be master plan. Blueprint.
Blueprint, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine. That's fine. He gets a point.
I'm light yet strong, twisted yet straight. From bridges to roofs, I hold your weight. What am I?
Truss.
Steel beam.
Okay. I'll just do the tongue twister. Truss correct है ना?
Please, नहीं correct है. अभी करो.
ठीक है.
Let's see how fast you go.
Precise proportions protect perfect projects. Precise proportions protect perfect projects. Precise proportions protect perfect projects. Okay.
My God, that was very slow.
Precise proportions protect perfect. Precise proportions protect perfect projects. Okay, anyway, next.
I think I was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm born before the first brick is laid. I change 1,000 times before I'm perfect. What am I?
Before the brick is laid, I change 1,000 times. Floor plan.
Whatever. Last one for me. Okay.
I move, but I'm not alive. I open spaces without walls. What am I?
A window or a door. What?
I move.
Oh, I move, but I'm not alive. Elevator. But I technically shouldn't get this point because I guessed wrong. Yeah. So if you get this right, you win. Without the options. Without the options.
Let's see.
I stand tall without moving. I have many faces but no emotions. What am I?
Oh, this is so easy.
Column.
No.
Is it a building? Yeah. So
Well done.
I thought, my God.
I said facade. Facade is a nicer answer.
Yeah, but I mean, even like I was just looking at the element of columns, you know.
Okay, so
I win, I think.
yes, you
Yeah,
win.
I need the camper.
Yeah, he wins. So
After the
our brand partners.
very
Turquoise.
difficult questions curated by our team.
Yeah, you got like really tough ones though.
Absolutely, like unfair questions.
So our brand partners Turquoise would like to present you with a hamper.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on winning the game.
But it was a very unfair game.
It was, but you won.
I have to point that out for all the future
Participants. I'm very happy.
Yeah,
though.
be careful.
It's a scam.
Exactly.
So, Jugal, you've been, I mean, of course, in Urbanscape India, you've been building beautiful structures, houses, all of that. But you've been a very, very strong advocate of rural India.
Right.
And how it is lacking development and how you want to build towards that journey of developing these spaces. So, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So, you know, when you're sort of busy with your kind of routine life or daily life as an architect, I think there is always that kind of parallel need for stimulation. I think there is that need to kind of get inspired or inspire others. And so back in maybe 5 years ago, we started this kind of initiative called Airbox. And it's essentially our contribution to the society at large, where we kind of took a very strong look, kind of a very careful look at where our country was and where our country wants to head overall. And we were able to identify like a big hole as far as the public infrastructure in our country was concerned, where like, why is there no design, right?
Yeah.
So that was our kind of first starting point. And within the public infrastructure space, we wanted to kind of identify what is like the most pressing need in our country. And it kind of all boiled down to like, again, basics. We've always been a country of fulfilling basics, and so housing and sanitation were like these two like very serious scary topics to kind of even go to, right? Because there are so many homeless people, so many people don't have clean sanitation in our country. And so what we thought is that and like even back in the day, like my time in New York when I was a student, when you are studying urban design, urban planning, I think there is always this sort of idea of addressing these kind of panic situations. There is that kind of argument is always there in all your projects as well. So back there we were looking at this issue of rising sea levels.
Yeah.
And so what happens to coastal cities? Cities like we used to live in New York. Then I moved to Miami. Miami is also coastal city, and which has hurricanes every year, right? So there we were working on these kind of modular solutions, in terms of either, rescue shelters or, sort of emergency health facilities, with keeping prefabricated architecture in mind. So that was basically my sort of origin of, falling in love with everything prefab and everything modular. And so once I was here, there was always that in the back of the mind, that kind of little, hunger to kind of deploy those ideas here, on how one can do that at a more Indian level and at scale, right? So, and that was also the time our Prime Minister was like aggressively talking about sanitation in the country. Akshay Kumar actually made a film on toilets.
Yeah.
And so we thought that, okay, this is a very serious matter, and it's a very fundamental matter. It's like the most fundamental civic requirement. So let's do something in this space, and also like affordable housing. So we created this modular box, and it's called Airbox because it self-ventilates. So it's essentially a prototype of it's essentially a sanitation facility, and it was a completely self-funded, self-motivated project. Like, I had no clients, and we just basically went out. My team would go out, just talking to people who were, homeless, or people who didn't have access to, clean infrastructure, and just understanding their requirements. And there were some sort of crucial takeaways. One was that it has to be like easily deployed, it has to be neat, clean, everything. And the name Airbox also stems from the fact that this was a completely self-ventilating unit, meaning that, it was designed in a way that it was like a tilted box with like ventilation happening from the bottom of the box. And where the argument we were making is that, look, you don't need any fans or air conditions or, ACs to run this thing. It can work anywhere, including rural India, right? And so we kind of built this with our own hands, and then we started the entire journey of talking about it. So I used to go to a lot of smart city meetings. I used to kind of go to our local authorities like MMRDA, MMRC, and they were very kind people. And then I used to also talk to people from the CSR industry, people who have the funds to kind of propel such a thing. And we got that prototype to Bombay because it was being manufactured in a facility out of Bombay, and we displayed it at BKC for almost 3 months. And we kind of got everybody to come have a look at it, touch and feel, see how it works, performs, in terms of its ventilation. And so that was kind of, a very good eye-opener on, how our country reacts to anything designed on a public level. Because if you see, our bus stops or our promenades or our bridges or, anything that is where the normal person wants to engage with, right, is kind of outright shabby, right? And so I think as architects, we have a long way to go as far as, actually participating in these kind of initiatives or projects. And so that was our own little way of doing it. And what I feel is that, if you're kind of confident about your idea, if you're true about the intent, that the intent was to genuinely offer like respectable shelters or sanitation spaces, right? So, and then we did everything possible to do that, right? Yeah. And so, you may like say, I mean, it looked, I'll share photos with you. Yeah, it kind of also looked a certain way. So, it was the whole message was that, we want to just like inspire people and say that, okay, public facilities don't have to be dull and boring.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. They don't have to be painful to use. like how can you like make things more comfortable and more kind of.
In fact, this takes me back to architecture, right? Because when we had AD, right? Second year, third year, fourth year. So all of our design faculties, I was very blessed to have faculty like that. I had Akhtar Chauhan sir and all these guys teaching me, but we would have SKs, design a bus stop, design a public toilet, you know, design these spaces. And at that point of time, it did not register कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं, why are we doing this, you know, what is the logic of it. I'm an architect, teach me to design a public space, teach me to design a structure and all of these things. Even simple row house projects, they would teach us to design sustainable row house projects, and there would be an SK on it. And now that I'm having this conversation with you, and I've had it with a few other people, right, and it takes me back to those days and what they were trying to get us to do and what most of us have failed to carry forward in our practice. And now, like when I speak to you or when I think about it, it's such a beautifully romanticized thought process that everybody should go back to. You know, it just opens up your mind. Like I kept thinking about like creative blocks and which book should I read or which film should I watch. But now we have actively started taking part in competitions.
If I can finish this thought with, you know,
please.
with you know, what this can do in rural India is that I think there's got to be a system where, you know, architecture is scalable. Okay, only then we can address the issues of the country at large, right? Especially rural India, because yes, you know, we have amazing craft and we have amazing resources. We have a lot of materials, you know, in our country to explore. But I think there is no kind of system in place to deploy these at scale. And so, you know, if there is a way for architects to engage within these projects or within these, you know, various requirements of various state governments, I think that would be an amazing thing, because, you know, there are already so many thinkers in our country. You know, we all want to value add on some level, right? And so this would be kind of our way of doing it, right? So there is this, you know, Bandra collective that you're aware of. You know, there's a set of like very senior architects. And again, you know, that's what they do. They want to offer their services for the betterment of the society, right? So, so likewise, you know, if we were to talk of actual tangible physical products at scale, you know, these are like amazing areas where one can deploy them, right? Where there is demand. Yeah.
That's a beautiful answer.
Yes.
And while we're on this topic, I'd like to also bring up Shoda's house, you know, where the walls kind of move and it's designed in such a way that no room has a certain hierarchy and you can shift it basis human beings inhabiting the space, right? So do you feel like this model is something that could also work in rural India or?
Yeah, I mean, we don't even need to look at a global case study for that. Like if you just go back in history and if you look at, you know, all our kind of, you know, early settlements, you know, within the country, they all had like very fluid, seamless spaces. Like any coastal home, I mean, historical home never had bedrooms. There were always like spaces that did a certain thing, right? So there was like the, you know, veranda or a loggia, you know, you enter the house and then there's a courtyard and then there is something that is happening around it. And, you know, things were just very fluid. So I think maybe adapt is not the right word. Maybe I think it should be kind of more of an evolution of these ideas with us now in today's times, right? Like how do we evolve these ideas into something that is far more optimized to address the current needs of the people, right? So that would be really interesting to see. Yeah.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Jugal, for this beautiful conversation. Let's now play a game.
Again?
Yes. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a set of 10 questions. It's a rapid fire. So you have to answer very, very quickly. Okay?
They can't be tough. I mean, if
No,
you're
they're
expecting
simple.
quick.
They're simple. They're about you as a individual.
Okay.
And then if you get it wrong, then you have a tongue twister which you have to say 7 times.
No
I'm lying.
No way. I'm not doing that.
Okay. So, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the first thing you sketch when you start designing?
Line.
If you weren't an architect, what would you be doing right now?
I don't have the voice, but I really would have been a singer.
Really?
Yeah.
In one word, what should architecture feel like?
I think it should just feel good in the end of the day.
Nice. How do you handle creative blocks when they hit?
For me, it's like music. Listen to a lot of music, yeah.
What do you think is the next big trend in architecture in India?
So yeah, I mean, it's very obvious. I guess we are revisiting history. We are revisiting the country's craft.
Nice. Tough one, okay? Kala Kendra by Charles Correa or I Am by Doshi?
I am.
Wow, that was a quick one.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could walk into a painting and become a part of it, which one would it be and why?
So, yeah, I don't think I can walk into that painting, but I love Rand Ortner.
Yeah.
You know, he just like paints like the ocean.
Yeah.
The waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to build a sculpture for yourself in one material, what would it be? And you can't say concrete.
Like I would do like a nice wooden table, I guess. I don't know.
About yourself.
About myself or
if you had to build,
for myself?
If you had to build a sculpture for yourself, meaning like as an ode to yourself.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. Why would I do? Why would I make a sculpture as an ode to my own
Or what
self?
if you're an egomaniac and you're like,
way.
I will make a wooden bust.
No way.
Okay, you'd make a table.
I mean, I'd make a nice table for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure? Vintage architecture books or binge watching design shows?
None.
Okay. What is it?
Listening to endless music, I guess. You know, I just like isolate myself, and that's all I do. Yeah.
Thank you for those lovely answers. Before we call it a wrap, I'd like to talk to you about your philosophy on architecture and some advice that you would have for our viewers.
So, I mean, there's no, it's too kind of soon and very early to say or claim any philosophies, but I think there are just some like very, basic guidelines or kind of basic learnings that one, works with is obviously all your, journeys in your life, what experiences you've been through as a human being. That make you think a certain way, right? So, I mean, there are people who are like extreme minimalists, and they say that, okay, this is my philosophy. There are people who are maximalists because, they're just like outright outrageous or, stuff like that. And that kind of shapes their philosophy. I guess the times we live in, it's kind of good not to have these kind of philosophies because every year is a new year. I mean, we just want to be like outright true to that particular project in whatever shape or form it comes out, right? So that's one thing that I guess one should be careful about is to not have very like fixated ideas about your design language or your practice in general. I think because the more open you are to the world, I think the better it is for you to grow and to kind of address like the need of the hour because like I said, it's changing every day. On a more kind of core level, it's with architects. It's like it's just the journeys and the travel that kind of defines you. I generally, I think I really truly believe that, and so yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching Season 3, Episode 8 of Moñö Architecture, All Things Design. Brought to you by brand partners Highbeck Kitchen Studio, Embellish and Turquoise.